most with the most, Doctor.
I love big titties.
It's a classic.
I'm really proud of myself for that. Like, I really am. And I knew it was coming. And I'm sitting here listening to it. It still made me laugh.
I forgot about, yeah. That's money. That's money.
Doctor, I love big titties. What's up, everybody? We're back. It's been a while, actually. It's been longer than usual. Blame it on this guy right here. No, I was out of town like twice over the last month. Just kind of been a little hectic, but we're here. We're here now. How's it hanging?
It's going good. As I was telling you the other day, like my work schedule is changing and I'm really not happy about it. You know, I don't know how you feel. I think weekends off are overrated. Big time. And I'll tell you why.
I only care about Sundays because of football, like during football season. I like having Sundays off.
Fair enough. You know, for me, the idea of being able, like, if I want to run off to go watch a movie, or I want to go run off to, like, even like right now, like it's Halloween season. If I want to go to Spirit, for me to be able to be off on a Wednesday or a Monday, and I go at like 11, I'm the only person in there, and I got to be around anybody. I loved it. I mean, I had every other weekend off, but now they swapped my work schedule to where, dude, I'm gonna sound like a bitch, but I can't help it. My work schedule is not bad. What I'm gonna do now is Monday through Thursday one week, then Monday through Wednesday the next week. And I'm sure people are like, "What are you complaining about, you idiot?" Hear me out. I work 12-hour shifts, and if you're not used to that, I think that would bring anybody. That people would be like, "Oh, fuck this," because 12 hours is literally half a day, right? So I have to do 4 12s this week, nights. So Nick, when I say I literally can't do shit for 4 days this week, I can't. I mean, literally tonight, I'm pretty caught up on film and stuff. I'm gonna do some YouTube short stuff. I'm gonna film and maybe, you know, let me see if I can get the camera to show this. I gotta organize all this shit. It's really dark, but literally there's piles of movies down there, just piles. It's pretty dark. I got it dark in here. But my point is, after tonight, when I start work, dude, I literally will go to work at 7 tomorrow, get home at 7 a.m., and I got to go to bed, dude. So I can't do shit for 4 days. And then I have 3 days off. And so I'm going to have to cram a bunch of shit in. So... And next week, don't get me wrong, dude, working 3 12s and being off the rest of the week, I'm sure you're probably, that sounds fucking great. And it is. But I don't know. I really like my work schedule, dude. I liked having days off during the week. And I'm going to kind of miss that. So.
No, yeah, I get it.
You know,
I get it. And it sucks because I work 12s on Friday and Saturday every week. So it's like,
that's brutal.
Friday, Saturday, I can't do anything ever. And then Saturday, literally right after work, I go and pick my kid up. So it's like, yeah, Friday, Saturday, I can never do anything. But it especially sucks because I had to take my kid last Thursday. That's normally when I'm able to see a new movie. Like if a new movie comes out, I can go Thursday after work because I have some time in the evening. And that's when preview shows are and stuff. But I had my kid. So I know it's flopping hard, but I haven't gotten to see The Crow yet. And I'm kind of bummed about it because I wanted to see it. And so I'm not going to be able to see it till Tuesday night. Now I'm going to see it Tuesday night after work. But yeah, no, I can't do anything on the weekends ever.
Would you rather knock out your 12s on Monday and Tuesday if you could? I feel like I would. I would rather just get them over with.
Probably because I can tell you that Saturday nights when everything is like said and done and I'm home and I get my kid to bed, dude, I'm never able to stay awake. Like I'm like, okay, it's 10 o'clock. I can decompress. Maybe I'll watch a movie. Maybe I'll record something for YouTube. Maybe I'll, whatever it is. And I end up like passing out on the couch damn near every Saturday because my body's just like, nah, not feeling it. And it's just, it sucks because I mean, it's the end of your work week. Like you're already nearing the end of your work week. So you're like, okay, like, you're already kind of a little tired. And then it's like the last 2 days of your work week are like really long. And it's like, oh man. So by the time your work week comes to an end, yeah, you're like a zombie. So yeah, no, I pretty much hate it. Like I pretty much
I was gonna
hate
say,
it.
I'll be honest with you. I think your work schedule kind of sucks. Something about having Sunday and Monday off feels like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love having Monday off, but not when I know. I don't know. Just having Sunday and Monday. I'd rather have my work schedule right now than yours. I'll tell you that. I just don't like the ways yours sounds. I feel like I'd always be working because Sundays are a blur. They always are to me.
Yeah, now imagine adding a 4-year-old to that. It's like you don't have any time to be your own person. Like you just don't. Like I didn't. My dumb ass was so tired today like 4 o'clock. We were in the living room. He was watching like Peppa Pig or something. I don't know. I fell asleep on the couch, dude. I was so tired. I fell asleep on the couch. I woke up. He's out in the backyard with the dog. Just went out back. So it's like, you can't even like, dude, the kids these age are insane. Now he can like open the doors all by himself and stuff. And like, on one hand, it's like, oh, he's more self-sufficient. So if I'm tired as hell, he wakes up early. I can get him some breakfast together, put on the TV, and I can kind of crash back on the couch because he's, pretty self-sufficient. But like now, on the other hand, it's like you can't really do that because as soon as he knows that you're napping, it's like, oh, I'm going to get into shit that I shouldn't. And he does. And it's like, bro, it's exhausting. So 0 out of 10, don't recommend my schedule either. But yeah. So I know you haven't seen it. I'm pretty sure you haven't seen The Crow yet. I know it wasn't one that you were rushing out to go see either. Believe it or not, I actually am excited for it. Like, I don't know.
No, I mean, yeah, yes and no. Like when a movie starts getting trashed bad, which the only person I've seen say they enjoyed it, I think it may be one person, and they didn't say it was good. They just said, it's really not that bad, that sort of thing. But other than that, the words I've seen is lifeless, soulless, pathetic, like shit like that, right? That makes me excited to go see a movie like that. Like, I swear, dude, if you tell me I have a library of films, half of them are based off of Piz reviewing terrible movies. The worse he describes them, the more I'm like, like, oh fuck yeah, dude, I gotta see Rat Man. Are you kidding me? So like that's how I operate. So same thing with movies. But for some, like it didn't work with Trap. Like Trap, I can't really say I want to see. I'm not gonna go to the theater for it. I'm not gonna buy it. I'll stream it.
Not worth it.
Just answer me this: is it true that there's no gimmick? There's no M. Night twist?
Nope.
Fuck that, dude. What?
Yeah.
What?
It's just straight, and it's not only is it straightforward. The trailer tells you the trailer. What the trailer is selling you is exactly what the movie is.
So is that the twist? That there is none, basically.
I mean, in a sense, yeah. But there's also the sense of like, I don't know, certain things unfold where you're like, oh, I didn't know this person was in on it too, or like, but it's nothing like, no. There's no moment where there's no robot chicken. What a twist! Like there's just none of it. And I was actually convinced that the trailers were misleading us on purpose because it was M. Night. I was like, no, there's going to be a twist. It's M. Night. So the trailer's making it look straightforward, but you're going to get something when you go see it. Like, oh, there's the M. Night. Nope.
Right.
Hartnett's great in it. I mean, he's freaking great in it. But I mean, nothing else about the movie is really all that impressive at all. I mean, Lee liked The Crow, and
that's who it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was talking to me. We were talking a little bit about it after we ended the stream the other night afterward, and he was like, he was like, it's not trying to be the original. Like a lot of people were like, oh, you're remaking the original. They don't even call him Eric Draven in the movie. They just call him Eric. They never mention Draven apparently. So like, and it's not, things don't unfold the way they do in the original either. Like it's almost like an alternate universe Crow story. So in that sense, if you're a fan of the original, at least you can probably watch this one and go, well, at least they didn't try to redo that one. Because from what I've heard, they are not trying to redo that movie. But I do have to say, because you're going to have people online that are going to say that wanted to see this movie fail and that are probably celebrating that it's failing right now. They're like, oh, see, it's because they remade The Crow and you don't do that. No, to be honest with you guys, I just think it's an IP that really isn't that popular. I personally don't think it's that popular. There's people in our circles that love that movie, but most like casual moviegoers, they don't see The Crow with Bill Skarsgård and they're like, I have to go see that. No, I just don't think it's that popular.
I would agree with that. I definitely would agree with that. I mean, I also hold the opinion that it's gotten a Nirvana effect. As fucked up as that sounds, it has a great soundtrack. I mean, I like The Crow, but if you're gonna ask me my top 10 movies from the 90s, it may make it, but it would be 9 or 10. Like I'd have a movie like 7 way higher up than The Crow.
Yeah, there was
Silence
for even
of the
the people,
Lambs,
Oh, for sure, Candyman. For people that love The Crow, even they have to admit, and Christian and I are very much in agreement about the original. I like it. I'm not in love with that movie. I've never been enamored by that movie. But I think the people that love that movie have to admit the only reason it has the staying power that it does in some circles is because of the circumstances, what happened. I mean, that's just the truth.
I think it's a big part of it.
Yeah.
I think if Kurt Cobain was still alive, we'd still hear. I mean, he was alive when Nevermind became multi-platinum, so those songs would still be on the radio. I still think Crow would be on TV, and it would have merchandise. But you can't. It's impossible for people to say that. I feel like it's impossible for you to say The Crow without this sense of almost protection about the movie, especially if you were around when that movie came out and you were part of that. I mean, who doesn't love Brandon Lee, right? Dude, Showdown in Little Tokyo with him and Dolph Lundgren is one of my favorite action movies. It's so funny. I love Brandon Lee. Who doesn't? It has nothing to do with Brandon Lee. I mean, yeah, it does. But my point is, it's not like I think he's bad in the movie. It's just like, I agree. My point is, I agree with you. I kind of think it's one of those things like, I also think you've split a fan base too. It's. I agree that it's probably not super popular, but dude, there are people that are they feel like their back's against the wall, and they're like, no, fuck that. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing a movie that where Brandon Lee lost his life. You're remaking a movie that, blah blah blah.
Yeah, so, and I mean, look, the way that I personally look at it is like if it had gotten great reviews, I still don't think it would be a hit. I really don't. I just don't. It might have done moderately better, sure, but it opened to like 5 million domestically and like 5 million internationally. So it's like if it got better reviews, let's just be kind and say maybe it would open to double what it did. Yeah. But even then, you're 20 million. Like,
are you? It's funny you saying you don't think it's super popular. I feel like I agree with you. I really do. But at the same time, I can't say that I'm not surprised that it's doing bad.
Christian, I got egg on my face and I'll admit it. I thought the movie would be a success. I did a video like a month back or 2 months back, like previewing the summer movies, and I called it Flop or Not. And I was like, and I just would pick a movie and I'd say, is this going to be a flop or not? And I said The Crow wouldn't be a flop. Now, I knew I'd get at least 1 or 2 of those wrong, if not more. Like it's just a guessing game, and that's fine. But every other one I haven't been wrong on, so I'm happy about that. But this is the one so far that I was wrong. I mean, I thought that it had a modest budget, 50 million. Like that's not crazy. I thought that it could leg it out to like 100 to 150 worldwide, which I mean, you're talking like Halloween Ends numbers, and Halloween Ends, it tanked after its opening week because it pissed so many people off. So I thought The Crow could do that. People will go see it for Skarsgård and for the name recognition, and then if they hate it, it'll tank after that. But it should probably be able to leg it out to be like moderately successful. No, it's a complete and utter failure.
So are we looking at like 30 million worldwide? You think 40 million when it's all said and done?
Oh, it's not going to make 40. Usually your rule of thumb is if a movie gets average reviews, 2.5 time multiplier is what they always say in the world of the box office. So 2.5 times what you open to is probably what you're going to end with. So The Crow is probably going to end with about 25 million.
You know, I was watching a clip of Matt Damon talk about the movie business on that show where they eat the chicken wings, where they keep getting hotter,
Hot ones.
hot ones. And he was referencing the way movies were kind of made back then versus today and stuff like that. And he was describing marketing, which is something you do a lot on here, but I wonder when he said this, was it the equivalent for every movie? But he basically said something like, whatever the budget of the movie is pretty much what you spend as well on marketing it.
Most of the time, yes. Most of the time, that's included. I wouldn't even say most of the time. Bigger tentpole movies, like movies that Matt Damon is in, yeah, he's usually right. Like usually you're factoring in P&A with that. But like a movie like The Crow, it was a $50 million production budget and a $10 million marketing budget. So I'm just going to say right now, Lionsgate didn't believe in the movie either. They gave it $10 million to market it. Now, you might think that's a shitload of money. No, it's not. Not in today's day and age. I mean, you're talking, I would say Maxine probably had close to that in their marketing budget. That most of Maxine was marketing budget. Like you saw that shit everywhere. That costs tens of millions of dollars. To put it in perspective, this is just where we are right now. It's relevant.
Uh-huh.
We're coming up on, an election season, and usually in the last 3 months of that, you're going to have about $600 to $800 million in ad reservations combined between the people that are running for president. Just in like 60 to 75 days, over $500 million in marketing themselves out to people.
It's insane.
So, yeah. So it's just like $10 million for your movie. That just shows right there that Lionsgate was like, yeah, we're not going to spend a lot on the marketing because we don't think this one's going to be a hit.
Well, and this also goes to something I think Johnny Carpenter said, was like, this is why movies get remade a lot, because it's easy to market them. Now, I wonder if that translates to this, like, hey, it's The Crow. Throw a fucking trailer together and put it on YouTube or put it in the movie theaters, blah, blah, blah. And we don't need to go further than that. I wonder if that was their thinking. Otherwise, why not spend more money to market it? I wonder if it would have made a difference. It's hard to say. Maybe not.
I think it was just Lionsgate's. I just think they were kind of stupid, to be frank. I mean, honestly, like I think they overestimated the name, the brand, and I think they also underestimated how upset some people. Isn't that ironic? The dichotomy of that situation. We just talked about it. The reason the brand has any name, most of the reason it has name recognition is because of what happened and how much people hold that movie near and dear to their heart because of what happened to Brandon Lee.
Yeah.
So if that is a big reason why that movie has brand recognition, essentially remaking it, you're already like losing that goodwill that you would have had anyway. So
yeah.
it's just like you're almost asking for your movie to flop.
Like, yeah, I agree. I think you were damned if you did, damned if you didn't, and I can understand. Like, I would never say, "Oh, well, the movie needs to flop, it needs to fail, blah blah blah." Because look, guys, I mean, come on. There's human beings that worked on this that have families and they're paying bills, and you can't. I'm not gonna wish ill, because I don't want the guy that's the key grip on the movie to lose a job and then lose money. It's not that, but I can I can understand on the other side, though. Maybe some things can stay sacred, and you could just leave The Crow alone. And if you say, well, Christian, they did sequels, yeah, but it wasn't a Dick Draven guy. It was different crows, if you will. It was different people. So, I mean, I think that's kind of apples and oranges for the people that would say, well, what about the sequels? On face value, I can see the argument, but if you get technical about it, I mean, you could say, well, I mean, it was different guys. It wasn't, so I don't know, but it's just one of those things, man. I mean, I got more important shit to be upset about in the world right now than The Crow. So, I mean, but I'll see it. I mean, my wife claimed she really thought it was going to be the next Twilight. I mean, which it's looking like she's pretty wrong about that. I doubt they're going to do another one, but I gotta say I am surprised that it did as bad. It's doing as bad as it's doing, more so financially than critically. I pretty much assumed it was going to get bad reviews.
Funny enough, Christian, it's in the high 60s for audience score. Like more than not, like 7 out of 10 people gave it a positive review on Rotten
never mind
Tomatoes.
then.
So now critics,
you know how I am, dude. I see a
Well,
little bit of this and a little bit of
no.
that, and in my mind, I consider that the general consensus, which
You're
is
right. No,
stupid of me to do.
No, you're right though, because critics, it's got a 20%. So like critics hated it, but like
Oh.
fans seem to be at least lukewarm on it. Like it's decent. So it's like, you know,
But I'm more interested in that. I mean, no disrespect to the individuals. I don't know if I know any people that are actually Rotten Tomato viewers. I'll be honest with you. I could literally give less. I can't just I can't
Lee is
no
one.
good for him, but I literally can't tell you how little of a fuck I would ever give about Rotten Tomatoes critic scores. Literally
Same.
less. Literally less. It's like it shows how like you take movies like the original Ninja Turtles that has like a Rotten Tomatoes score. The audience score is like 90%. Like, and I could think of 1,000 examples of stuff like this. It's like, are all these guys turtleneck wearers? No pun intended, because I just mentioned Ninja Turtles. But like, you know what I'm saying? Are these the kind of guys that wear the turtlenecks, watch movies with their legs crossed, with their hands on the knee like this? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, why is? And I'll tell you another thing, dude. Take that fucking Rotten Tomato shit off the cover of Blu-ray releases. I don't. Who's buying a Blu-ray because it says certified fresh? Please, somebody tell me who goes to Walmart and goes, there's no certified fresh sticker on this movie. What? Take that shit off of the goddamn movies. Nobody gives a fuck. God,
Well,
man.
It's funny because most of the movies that we
put the audience scores on them. How about that?
Yeah. And most of the movies that we have reverence for, like most of the horror movies from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, do not have good Rotten Tomato scores. Most of them don't. Like they just don't. And honestly, it hasn't been until like the last 10 years where horror movies were actually starting to get their day from critics. So like I've never cared about Rotten Tomato scores. If anything, when I see Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 has like a 21% on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm like, oh hell yeah, here we go. This is going to be great. Because rightly or wrongly, I feel like I view it similarly to you. It's like I just see these guys as like pompous assholes, these reviewers, a lot of the time. Like
we are the audience.
Yeah.
What we do, anybody from the audience can do, getting on YouTube and speaking your mind, right? That's what we are, the audience. Dude, I'm sorry. I don't want to go on a tangent, but like, I get so annoyed of these fucking Rotten Tomato stickers. Get that shit. I swear, nobody gives a fuck about the Rotten Tomato score on the cover of a Blu-ray release. Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Soon there's going to be certified fresh like columns on like Max and Netflix. Hopefully I don't give anybody any ideas.
Guys, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I think Peacock does something like that.
Oh,
I think one of these streaming services does do something like that. But
speaking of streaming services, dude, all these streaming services are like fucking losing millions. Like, how much money has Peacock? Dude, Disney Plus has lost more money than I would ever see in my entire life.
Look, man, I said it from the beginning. I'm not trying to do victory laps, but I'm going to take my victory lap here for sure. During COVID, all of these dumbasses, these studios, these companies actually thought that streaming was the way of the future. The theaters were never going to come back, and that physical media was going to entirely die off, and streaming was going to be the future. So they all invested a ton of resources into streaming to make streaming the thing they are known for. And guess what? It's not the way of the future. Streaming is a method. It's the comfortability method, but you're not always looking for that. And also, if anything, people revolted against streaming once everything opened back up again and life got back to normal. People were like, I don't want to be stuck on my couch. No. So congratulations to all of you multi-billionaires. you're fucking idiots and you're now losing a ton of money. And I don't have a degree in business or any of that, but I could have told you guys this in 2020. I mean, I've been saying it. Anybody that's been listening to me, I've been saying it. So I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for them. You know, screw them. Eat the rich. You know,
Does Disney even have movies that go to the theater anymore?
Yeah, they do. I mean, like Deadpool and Wolverine. And that movie,
I forget that's Disney.
yeah, but you gotta also understand. People will go, "Oh, Deadpool and Wolverine's huge. It's over $1 billion. Like it's a big movie." Yes, it is, but it's kind of a drop in the bucket compared to the money that they invest into their parks, into their streaming service. Like their purchase of Star Wars alone, Christian, was like $4 billion just to purchase Star Wars. So I mean, they're really frivolous with their money. And
I don't pay attention to the Star Wars stuff so much. And the little stuff I see based off of the Crow stuff you were just telling me about how most of the audience likes it. Based off the little I see, I feel it looks like Disney has done literally the worst job possible with Star Wars in terms of fan satisfactory. I feel like that's what I see.
Well, for every good thing they've had 2 or 3 bad things to couple with it. So
like that Mandalorian show, I watched the first season of that, and I thought that was good, but I stopped. I never saw it. I pretty much moved on after that.
Season 2 is good as well, and then a lot of people said season 3 really fell off a cliff. I didn't watch season 3, so I couldn't tell you. But so what I'm saying is like they get a little bit of success, and then it's just they squander it, and that's just been their story. I would say the story of Disney Star Wars is lack of consistency, because I think anybody that likes Star Wars could say Disney has done at least one good. They could find one truly like, oh, this was really good that Disney did with Star Wars. But for that one thing, they could find 5 things that they're like, this was really bad. And so there's just no consistency. But I will say, I think people whitewash a little bit because it's not like George Lucas was, batting 1,000. Like he swung and missed a couple times too.
He swung and missed, but I feel like let me ask you this. And this doesn't necessarily relate to Star Wars, but let's take Star Wars and the Exorcist movies. Let's take the David Gordon Green movies. Let's take the Star Wars movies. I am what's known as I am the definition of a casual Star Wars fan. When a new one comes out, besides those weird little spin-off ones they did, I ain't got time for all that. But when those, although I did watch one called Rogue One, which I thought was pretty
fantastic.
Good. But anyway, when a new movie comes out, I'll go see it. Okay. I saw the 3 Star Wars movies. I thought the one that they had where they killed Han, finally Harrison Ford was in it. I thought that was pretty fun. I can't say I'm ever going to go back and rewatch that often. I don't like the next one at all. The Rise, whatever it is,
Last Jedi, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that movie at all. I'm willing to admit that I grew up and Star Wars didn't. That's probably the issue. I just thought it was ridiculous. And then I didn't like the next one either. And I said I'm just not into it anymore. Let me ask you a question. What do you get more annoyed by? Not following through? Because clearly the last Star Wars film, and this also goes with Exorcist, because I know this is called the horror podcast, people, but just work with me here. Do you get more annoyed that they don't follow through with what they were going to do? Because clearly the last Star Wars movie, they were trying to course correct. Do you get more annoyed at not following through, or do you get more annoyed at the course correction of that? Because clearly we saw that with Star Wars, and they're course correcting with Exorcist. Clearly, it's so funny why they don't get a guy like Flanagan to fucking begin with. It's like, okay, once stuff goes to shit, then we'll get one of the greatest writer-directors of modern day to work on The Exorcist. But my question is, for me, there's a part of me that will always say, fuck the audience. I'm in charge. I'm doing this shit, and I'm going to do it my way. I respect that more than course correction, but I'm wondering what you think. Would you go ahead? You get the point. I don't need to keep rambling. You get the point.
I've always been somebody that thinks you should see it through personally. That doesn't mean you don't listen to the audience and you don't try to tweak certain things. Hey, this didn't go over as well. Maybe we can kind of massage it a little bit. I definitely think feedback is important, but I think that course correcting entirely in a lot of different ways is just, I think it's a loser's game personally. I mean, and that's always been my opinion on it. Look, anybody on this podcast knows I love The Last Jedi, and I'm not going to go into a diatribe about that, but Star Wars set themselves up for failure because almost nobody
Star
liked
Wars or Disney?
Disney, because
Okay.
almost nobody liked Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Almost nobody did. Now, some people said, well, I liked it better than The Last Jedi, but it still wasn't very good. And if that's your bar, the bar's in hell. Like the bar is truly in hell, and it shouldn't be there. And so Disney's problem was, and part of it was, it's just a J.J. Abrams problem. Let's call a spade a spade. J.J. Abrams is a guy that can't do endings. He does not do endings well. He never has. Anybody that's watched J.J. Abrams shit knows that. He does not do endings well. He only wanted to do episode 7. He did episode 7, and then he was like, whatever, I'm done. So then Rian Johnson comes in and does episode 8. And then it's like, you know what? I'll come back for 9. So at that point, you passed. They gave JJ the opportunity to do the trilogy from the very beginning. And he said no. You passed on the opportunity to have 3 movies that were your story. You passed on that. So don't come back now after passing on that and going, well, you know what? I'm going to make this into kind of what I want to make it into because I don't like what the last guy did. Well, you had a choice. So you might as well just not even come back for 9. And as great as
Time out, because I got to ask you this. I'm not trying to challenge you. Has he talked about that publicly, or are you assuming he says, I don't like what the last guy did?
He has not said he does not like what happened with The Last Jedi. Disney didn't like
the reception,
how the fans were putting their feet to the fire a little bit. Yes.
Right.
So JJ felt
because my point is Disney is the enemy. They're the morons in this whole thing.
Yes, but I will say this, Christian. JJ does play a role in it too, and I know that for a fact because Rian Johnson wrote an outline of ideas for episode 9 and gave it to JJ Abrams. And JJ did not use a single one. He was like, nope, I'm good. Disney, whether it was Disney's pressure, hey, we need to move off of that. I don't believe that entirely because The Last Jedi still made over $1.5 billion, made him a lot of money.
Of course it did.
So I think part of that was JJ's hubris as well. He got a rubric from Rian Johnson of, hey, so these are some of the things I set up, and this is how I see some of them playing out. Right. And JJ was like, yeah, I don't want to do any of that because those aren't my ideas. So I'm going to do what I want to do.
So you would have rather JJ, because let's be real, Disney probably threw JJ, I hesitate to guess, the money for him to come back and do the third one. Everybody's got a price, right? Yeah. Everybody's got a price. So my point, but now going back to the other side of the coin, did David Gordon Green step aside or did
he was pushed out? 100% pushed out.
That's what I think.
Yeah, 100% pushed out, and it was because that was clearly a financial decision. Blumhouse was like, dude, we spent like $400 million for these rights. Like, we have 2 more movies on this deal. We have to make this profitable for us. You watch that Shark Tank. You know how business-minded Jason Blum is.
He's very business-minded.
He saw the reception of Believer and was like, if we don't turn this around fast, I'm going to lose a lot of money. And I don't think he wants to lose a lot of money. So
watching him on Shark Tank, I swear, dude, I loved him. I really liked, you know what I liked about him? He was very kind to the people that came on the show. Now, granted, the cameras are on him. I get that. But I've also seen other guys that come in that are just jackasses. But he was kind. They actually told his story. He gave the blueprint of how he does Blumhouse. And I was like, that's why Ethan Hawke is in all his goddamn movies. Dude, he's got stake in this company.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, no.
I forgot what I was going to say now. I forgot it was something that had to do with Jason Blum.
But in that same sense, because this tying it back into The Exorcist, and I want to know how you feel about this personally.
Yeah.
I am happy that they're moving forward with Flanagan, of course, because the guy is the modern day GOAT, in my opinion. So I am happy, elated that they're doing that. But I don't want them, and I know they're doing it, so it's a moot point. I don't want them to just drop Believer entirely. There was stuff I liked about that movie, as did you. And I think you could take some of the bones of that with a better writer and director for this material and really make it into something. Like, I was happy, very, very happy to see Linda Blair at the end. And I was like, if she's going to play more of like a ministerial role in the next movie, that's cool. Like, I like that. And now that's not going to happen. And everything you watched in Believer ain't going to happen. They're going back to the drawing board. That movie doesn't exist. That was a failure to launch.
It's gonna be his wife in the movie, right? Like
I
kind of
hope
like
so.
Ouija,
I hope
Origin of
so.
Evil.
I
Oh,
hope
she's
so.
good looking broad. I like her a lot.
Great
She can act
actress
good.
too. Yeah, but that's where I stand with it. It's like you need a new voice for sure, but I don't want to abandon all the ideas. There was some good stuff.
I agree. And I would still be cool to see Linda Blair at the behest. Because so me and Sydney rewatched. She saw it for the first time. I rewatched Exorcist Believer. I never bought it, believe it or not. I never bought the movie when it came out, but she had asked me if I thought it was good, and I said, you know what? Initially, I thought it was pretty good, but I keep thinking about it, and I know this is one of those things. If you think a movie is okay and you think about it over time, whatever side you're leaning towards, if you thought it was really good, over time you build it up even more. And if you thought it was okay, odds are you're going to think less and less and less and less and less about it. That's just the way it is for a lot of us. And I told her, I said, I don't know if I even like it. We watched it again. I like so much the father-daughter thing. And everything original about that movie, I'm like, this is not bad. It's really not bad. The mama, Linda's mama, dude, if I could have a wish, I would have let William Friedkin stay alive just long enough to watch that and hear William Friedkin say what he would say. Because the fact that you bring this woman, dude, you have to admit.
Oh, it's a terrible choice. It's terrible. It is absolutely terrible.
They get you though, because in the theater, you're so happy to see him. Yeah. The mama, right? Like, oh my God, she's still around. Like, this is so cool. But dude, then it wears off. And then you're like it was me with Halloween 2018, dude. Nobody could convince me it wasn't a 5-star movie when I got out of it in 2018.
No, Christian, I will say, I think this is a good comparative. Ellen Burstyn in Exorcist Believer is Charles Cyphers in Halloween Kills. Rest in power, Charles Cyphers, by the way. But
totally agree.
Just completely past their prime. This is not okay.
But
like you see him, the first shot you see him, you're like, oh, that's cool. And then they get lines, and you're like, I don't know if you should be here.
Okay, dude. Okay, listen. I'm just gonna say this. Okay, and then you can take it away because I don't think you're gonna disagree with me. No, listen. I love women. I love powerful women that they're. You get my point, okay? I'm not a sexist at all, okay? My wife is smarter than me. She's better at me than 90% of shit. I can cut the grass, okay? And I can make a living for us, okay? So I'm not any kind of sexist. I just want to preface that because it's 2024 and the internet sucks. I don't know who I've pissed off that they want to try to get me in trouble. Nick.
Yeah, me.
These fucking priests in the first movie say, we don't want you to go into this room because this shit is going to get bad. People fucking died in the bedroom, Nick. Died. And she has whoever wrote the line where she goes, I just think it's the patriarchy. I swear, Nick, that will go down as the stupidest fucking movie line in American history. And I know you agree with me so much. I know you do. You have to admit there's times and places for dialogue of women being like, fuck this, fuck that. That is got to be. And I want to know who's responsible because that has got to be the stupidest line in American history. And you'll never convince. Dude, are you kidding? How did I not hear that the first time I watched the movie?
No, but see, that's my point. That's what I was going to say is that you might not be wrong, but it didn't offend me the first time I watched it because I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice until I saw the discourse on Twitter afterward. And then I was convinced. I was like, well, some people are just going into these movies looking for stuff to complain about. And obviously that stood out to them. I went into the movie open-minded. So like I wasn't that never crossed my mind. Like I didn't pick up on it. I was kind of just watching and whatever. And then when I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, that is a dumb line. And like, it's obviously clearly not
Dude,
the
the
case
priest,
at all.
they saved her life.
Yes.
They died in the bedroom. They
But
fucking died.
I know, but I will say,
Stupid.
I will say for me,
Send
I
the
was
bitch
like,
in there. Go upstairs. Go. Like that should have been the next movie, right? What happened? She gets pecked in the eyes by a bird, and she's bitching about, dude.
I know,
Stupidest
no,
line
no.
ever.
But I guess in a way, like, yeah, it was either David Gordon Green or Danny McBride or someone wrote that line just to like put, I guess, their own little influence on it, their own opinion on it, which is unnecessary. It's stupid.
Dude.
But I will say, for me, I was just like, I mean, I could see this crotchety old woman thinking that. So like the fact that she said it, I'm like, I could see her thinking that. I don't agree with it. It's stupid as hell. Having watched what we watched in the first movie, no, they literally saved your life.
It's insane.
Yeah, no, it's a dumbass line. It is a dumbass line. And it's also telling that Ellen Burstyn basically made no bones about it. She came back because of what they paid her.
Oh, of course.
She didn't care about the script. They were like, hey, we'll give you they probably paid her like $10 million. And she's like, oh, hell yeah, I'll come shoot for like 3 days. And like, it's a dumb line.
I'm not offended by it. I just think it's so stupid. It's truly the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my entire life.
No, I know you're not, but there were people online.
Of course,
that were
of
offended
course.
by it.
It's when you think what happened in the movie, they said, I swear, I want to rewrite time. I want to show up on set. I'm gonna say, William, send a broad to the bedroom, shut the door. Like, it's just insane. It's insane.
Yeah. Honestly, it's like
because it makes no logical sense, Nick. That's why it makes zero logical sense.
No.
Send the broad up to the bedroom next time.
I completely agree. It makes absolutely no sense. It's stupid. And if anything, if nothing else, like set aside your personal feelings on certain things. If nothing else, it diminishes Chris McNeil a little bit. Because it's like, are you as a character actually that dumb? Like, you know what happened that night. Do you actually feel that way? Like, are we now supposed to believe that this woman that we were introduced to 50 years ago, that was smart, that was self-sufficient, that was a go-getter, like that was like Chris McNeil was, she was well put together in that first movie. Are we now actually supposed to believe that you're actually just a dumbass? Because like you can't, the two aren't the same. And that is why I'm going to say, and I've said it a million times, David Gordon Green, I love you. And I love Halloween Ends. And I think you did more good than bad. I know with the Halloween trilogy guy. Oh God, how dare you say that? I think you did more good than bad. And Christian, I know, agrees with that.
I do agree with you.
You did more good than bad. But dude, you are not now the legacy sequel guy for any horror. Like, it's just no.
This is the best thing for David. I really believe so. I was like, dude, when he got fired, I was like, good. He needs to go make.
He could have damaged his career beyond repair, Christian, if he kept doing movies like this and they kept getting shit on. Nobody was going to hire this guy. And he's a good director. Go back and watch some of his movies before horror. Like Pineapple Express is one of my favorite comedies ever. Yes.
Right. And I don't, you may be able to find clips of me on the internet trashing David Gordon Green, but I want to clarify now. The dude is clearly you watch his movies, you could tell he's got a good style. He's got a good vision. The jackass writing it, the jackass writing the movies, he could be better. Okay. Yep. And I mean, I think if you give David a good script to do, the dude's going to be fantastic. I'll be honest, I want to see what he's going to do next. I really do.
Yeah.
And I'll go see it. And I hope it's horror. I hope he doesn't just like stop doing horror.
Did you watch Stronger with Jake Gyllenhaal?
No. Did he do that?
Yeah. It's David Gordon Green directed that. Yeah.
No, the last thing I saw with Jake Gyllenhaal was that fucking pathetic Roadhouse.
Yeah, I didn't even watch that. I can't. And I love Conor McGregor. Like I do. I don't give a shit about UFC, but anytime that dude fights, I will pay for it because I just love his personality. He's like a demon, and I like that. But I had no interest. I watched that trailer and I was like, this looks like shit. Like,
Dude, it's terrible. It's terrible. Let me describe to you the opening scene of the movie. So there's a technique in movie fighting. I learned this from watching a John Cena documentary, believe it or not. They script out 25, 30 seconds of a fight. And what they do is they do it all in slow motion.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually make contact and they react. And then in post, what they do is they speed the tape up. And it has this slightly it's like you can tell when you see it. It's got almost this ghostly effect to the movements and stuff. And so they did this in the beginning of the movie where Post Malone, who's the most out of shape, in shape looking human, he lost a bunch of weight, but for some reason he still looks so horribly out of shape, right?
That's all he does is drink and smoke cigarettes. So yeah.
So it's him in a bar fight with another guy, and it's the most pathetic opening of a movie I've ever seen. And I like Post Malone. I think he's a really charming guy. When I watched him on Howard Stern, so lovable. He's actually not an idiot, despite how he looks. Like he's actually he's smart, he's funny. But I'm like, holy shit, man, are you kidding me? And I'll always love Jake Gyllenhaal till my last day. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have openly admitted it. Today, I have no problem saying Brokeback Mountain is like one of the best dramas I've ever seen in my life. It is.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Right?
It is. That was so weird too. It's so weird that people didn't want to like openly talk about that movie. It's like, it's a good movie. Like, it's a good movie.
This was the Viva La Bam era, dude. Like if you got caught watching Brokeback Mountain, it's like, oh, you're gay. You know, it's just that's what we did. That's what we did.
I know.
So, but dude, yeah, I remember renting it from Blockbuster, and I was like, dude, I was captivated with how good and the ending. When the broad sees him, like it's like, oh shit. Like, dude. And that was the Joker, right? The other guy?
Yeah, Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger, dude. So like I will always love Jake. Jake was in Prisoners, which is one of the best
incredible.
Damn.
Dude, that movie.
That was David Desmalchian. David Desmalchian plays the creep. Mm-hmm. Right? Oh, dude.
David Desmalchian doesn't get enough work, in my opinion, because that dude is such a good actor. Such a good actor.
So good. And I didn't know this until I was reading a Fangoria I had with him. It was right around the time Late Night with the Devil was coming out. And it was him being interviewed, and he went to this like convention, and dude, like he had on like a City of the Living Dead shirt, and like and shit, like and I'm like, oh, this guy's real, like he's really because it's like sometimes you watch these horror movies, then they got these guys you really like, and you find out like, oh, they don't fucking like it at all, but dude, like he's the real deal.
I told you like a year ago.
Nobody just wears a City of the Living Dead shirt.
No,
you have to seek that out. You know?
I think I said it on here like a year ago, and I implore you and anybody else that still hasn't done this. It's like a year old now, but go back and listen to Bloody Disgusting's Boo Crew, the episode they did with David Desmalchian right after The Boogeyman came out. And
was he in that?
Yeah, he was in The Boogeyman. He's
I didn't see that. Don't say no. I haven't seen that.
Okay.
Now I gotta watch that.
It's okay, but he's really good in it. And it's like an hour-long sit-down with David Desmalchian, and this was before Late Night with the Devil. Like, it had already filmed, but there hadn't been a poster yet, no trailer, nobody was talking about it. Nobody knew, and he previewed it. At the end of the episode, they're like, okay, so what do you got coming up next? And he was just lauding it. He was like, I just did this movie called Late Night with the Devil. I loved it. It's going to be so good. Like, I cannot wait for people to see this movie. And Desmalchian is such a horror fan, and you can tell in listening to him in this interview. He's so knowledgeable, super polite, super intelligent. I mean, I implore you guys, Bloody Disgusting's The Boo Crew. Go to Apple right now or Spotify, search it, David Desmalchian, The Boo Crew. It is a great, great episode. He is so smart, and it's crazy now because it's like being in a time capsule. If you listen to it now, at the end of it, when he's talking about Late Night with the Devil, and like nobody even knew what it was yet, and then now where we are, a lot of us loved Late Night with the Devil. I mean, Christian and I both did. So it's like, it's just really cool. It's really cool. He's just... I would love to meet that guy, and I actually think he needs to do more horror, period, because he's so good. He's got this weird kinetic like he's so I don't even know how to put it. He's just all over the place. Like he plays mentally unstable really well, and he
So
also
good.
plays like really charismatic really well. And like it's just I don't know, he's so good.
You know, there's few. I say there's few for horror fanatics. If people like, hey man, show me a great horror movie. People, I'm just gonna be dead honest. You're probably not gonna grab a Danielle Harris movie because you want to impress your friends.
No.
But you will grab a David Desmoshin movie,
Yep.
right? There's just, and who doesn't love Danielle Harris, right?
Yeah.
I love Danielle, but my point is, and there's look, I should give other examples that way I'm not singling out Danielle. But my point is, you look at you watch a David Desmoshin movie, people are going to be fucking impressed.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, I think people are really rallying with him.
Dude, I felt
second favorite movie for me this year, dude. I still love Late Night with the Devil. It's gonna be, dude, I fucking love it. Long Legs is number one.
Yeah.
But dude, Late Night with the Devil, I don't think it's gonna be top for number two. The only movie could be Nosferatu. That's it.
I'm still there with The First Omen. That's still my favorite, but I need to go back and rewatch
dude,
it.
It really, the First Omen, the opening of it is so good. I watched my Blu-ray a while back. I was like, fuck, man, this, because as soon as you start to settle in with The First Omen, boom, you get like that hand coming out the vagina.
Yeah.
Like you get some, like, and that's what religious horror should be. It should take you to the visually places that are so fucked up. Like, you got to go for it. That's the way I feel about that stuff. You have to go for it. So Omen's great. It probably should be in my top 5. It probably should, you know.
Hopefully it will be once you do a list at the end of the year, because it is. I really do think it is that good. And
it really is.
It just kind of came and went because it came out in April. It didn't get a ton of marketing, and it just kind of came and went. Which was
it successful?
It made $50 million on a $30 million budget. So it probably almost
it's in the
broke
black,
even.
huh?
Yeah. And I would say after physical media, it probably went in the black barely, but not enough for them to be like, all right, let's do another one. No. But again, just like with The Crow, I'm just going to say it. The Omen, not a super popular IP, guys. It's just not. It's not. Like the original Omen film is a classic in its own right. But even in saying that, and I think you can agree, The Omen is not a classic in the sense of Halloween or The Exorcist. It's not viewed that way. People like
it's a 1A. You're totally right. It's a 1A.
Yeah. And then you had sequels over the years that were, straight to DVD or straight to TV and stuff like that. Nobody really cared about the series as a whole. So to come back decades later with a prequel to The Omen, it's just, I don't think people really cared. I'm surprised it made $50 million. I mean, and if nothing else, I hope the director, Akasha Stevenson, gets more work, because she directed her ass off in that movie. And that was her motion picture debut. Like, that was her first big movie. So, and that movie was $30 million budget, and all $30 million were on screen. That movie looks great. So, yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah, I feel like it's been a pretty good year, right? I mean, what do we have to look forward to now? We haven't talked about Alien, which I'm sure you will, but we have Terrifier, Nosferatu. There's got to be something in November, right?
So we got Terrifier, we got Nosferatu. I'm not looking forward to Speak No Evil, but that's about to come out. I'm tired of seeing that trailer, but that's about to come out.
Whoa, what's that?
James McAvoy, Speak No Evil. It's a remake of a 2022 Dutch film, Swedish film. It's a foreign film.
Why is that not ringing a bell?
I don't know, because if you go to the movies, you will see that trailer right now.
I'm sure I did.
It's all over the place. A quick refresher on the trailer. It's James McAvoy with his wife and what appears to be his kid, and they meet this other couple, and they come and they're like, "Oh, stay in this cabin with us," and they're like really like crazy and seem like they don't want to let them leave. And and if you've seen the original foreign film, you know why. Which the original foreign film, I'll just let you guys know. If you haven't seen Speak No Evil, it's really it's a hard watch. Like it ends on quite the downer. So definitely not an easy watch. But yeah, there's other movies that are coming out that aren't necessarily horror that I'm looking forward to a lot. I mean, I'm a big Venom fan, so I'm really excited for the third Venom movie. I actually can't wait to see that. Um,
What
trying to
about
think of what else.
Beetlejuice?
Dude, I gotta be honest with you. I
Not a
don't
fan.
care. I don't
Oh, that's
care.
cool.
And I like the first movie, but I don't think I'm gonna go see it in theaters. I really, really don't. It's just it's not grabbing me. None of the marketing is grabbing me.
I'll tell you what grabbed me about it. I don't know. This is not going to make a difference to you, but I heard Michael Keaton talk about he talked about how much him and Tim Burton agree that they're going to limit his screen time on this movie. So whenever he's on screen, it should be like boom, really important, which I think is good. So I'm excited for that, and
I mean,
I love Winona.
if it's going over well with people, I might see it.
I think it's going to be super successful.
Oh
I
no,
think
it's gonna
be
make
huge.
It's gonna make a lot of money. Yeah, I don't want to get that misconstrued. It's gonna be a hit. So I mean, there's a lot still to look forward to this year, and like you said, Nosferatu. Like there definitely is still movies to look forward to this year, but one that you mentioned that we got to talk about in depth is Alien Romulus. And look, I don't. I know this is a weird. It's a slippery slope when you talk about Alien or Predator. You know, very
just
loyal fan bases.
just go for it. Just go for it.
It's my favorite Alien movie since Aliens. And
Whoa.
again, hold
Over
on.
Alien 3?
I was going to say, and again, this is coming from somebody that likes Alien 3, and I do. This is also coming from somebody that thinks that Prometheus is fantastic, and it is.
I do love Prometheus.
But Romulus for me, and I've only seen it once, so maybe over time I'll go, okay, maybe it goes down a little bit, but right now I'm still riding that high. And I'm riding that high because I feel like it was the perfect marriage of the two best Alien movies, which is Alien and Aliens. It had the first half of the movie that was very similar to Alien. It takes time to build up. Suspense is the focus here. It's horror. It's back to horror. And then the second half, you get action, you get some stuff you hadn't seen before. You get some of the greatest hits played back, which are fun nods and stuff like that. And I think at the end of the day, it really exists in such a great space that it acknowledges the existence of Prometheus in a way with the black goo. I mean, like that, the Prometheus is still canon, but it also was able to like separate from Covenant and where that timeline was going and be like, yeah, these ideas are still here, but we're going to attack a different period of time now. We're going to go back to what people like actually, the fans really want to see. And I don't know, man. I loved it. I loved it. The scene in the like cryo bay area with the face huggers and whatnot, dude, suspenseful as shit. The scene where they have to turn up the heat to walk past all of the face huggers. I was sitting in the theater and I was like, oh man, this is good. This is horror. Like this is real horror. I'm imagining myself in that situation. And yeah, man, and then the attention to detail with a lot of the practical effects. Really, really impressive stuff. Like really impressive work there. We had xenomorphs that were people in suits, guys. Yeah. We had animatronics. We had prosthetics. They used as much practical as they could. I just feel like you couldn't have gotten a better director for this than Fede. And watching it, there are multiple things that happen that you're like, oh, that's such a Fede thing. Like that's so Fede. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I really, really hope that they do more after this movie. And I think they will because tracking has this movie ending around 350 to 400 million worldwide.
That's insane.
Yeah. So Alien is definitely back.
Let me ask you this. Better than Evil Dead 2013?
Oh, man.
The answer is no.
No. Yeah. No.
It's close, but no.
No, it's Evil Dead is still Fede's best movie, but that
movie is fucking insane. I agree with basically everything you said. I thought what I liked about it too was, it looked like Alien. It's a very dark movie, but it felt like Aliens with the crew together. And here's what's so interesting to me. It really kind of took me back. When I saw the movie and I would talk to you and other people, like people that like I know that went and saw the movie, it was a lot of that. Like, dude, like that was an Alien film. Yeah, that was good. I review it. Forget about it. Forget about it. Biggest piece of shit movie. Fan service, ridiculousness. I can't stand the way Gen Z people talk. I hate these people. Like, imagine being, I would have jumped off the ship. It's like, boom. I don't know what the movie's tracking wise on a grand, like, I don't know what the scores are like on the sites, but and then again, you almost don't know if people that like the movie just watch your videos and don't comment about it.
Yes, that is exactly it.
But dude, it's like the Alien fans, they're just as intense as the Halloween ones.
That's why I said it's the same thing with Predator. I know that the fans of these, the big fans of these, they're very protective, which is why Prometheus was so divisive. I don't know if you remember those days. I'm sure you do. I saw that movie in theaters. I loved it. And then seeing
Not on the internet, but I definitely I thought the movie kind of blew me away visually just watching it.
Yes, and I thought it really fleshed out some just really cool stuff. Questions that you had like over the years and stuff. I just really liked a lot of the new ideas, but I remember that movie was split. Like, you really liked it or you did not care for it. And I feel like it's still that way. And then Covenant was much more, most people were like, yeah, not really my thing. And even me loving Prometheus, and I was excited they were making a sequel to it. I think that was Scott getting a little bit too in his head based off of the reception of Prometheus, how it was so divisive, that he was like, okay, let me just try to give you like a bunch of xenomorphs and shit now, and we'll make it more like Alien. But Alien Covenant feels like two movies. You have the sequel to Prometheus, and then you have another story, which is much more an Alien movie. And they don't really work together. Like, they just don't. Like, if you're going to follow Prometheus and you're going to explore creationism and stuff like that, continue on that path. Like, give me the shit with Michael Fassbender more. Because, like, I don't need this other plot that are eventually going to merge. It just doesn't really work. But yeah, I thought the movie was incredible, man. I really, really do. And I think that I personally think what Fede said about wanting to do an Alien versus Predator movie and co-direct it with Dan Trachtenberg, the director of Prey, I love that idea. Like, I think that idea sounds so cool. I love that idea.
Prey was fantastic, dude.
Yeah. And we need an AVP. Let's be honest. The two AVP movies we got, I have fun with the first one. Not a great movie, but it's fun. The second one, terrible. Shit. You can't even see it. You can't even see anything. It's just, it's not a good movie. And you build up to the Pred Alien, and then at the end, because they didn't have the money, you only see bits and pieces of the Pred Alien and really dark shots and stuff. And it's just a bunch of bullshit. Pissed me off. Really pissed me off. But AVP can work as a concept if you have a good writer and a good director. You have to have a good story and you have to have a good visual eye. And the problem with the first Alien versus Predator is good visuals, not a great story. The problem with AVP Requiem, not a good story, not good visuals. If you bring in Dan Trachtenberg and Fede Alvarez and you go, you two are co-directing and writing an AVP movie, I have no doubt that movie would fucking rip. Like, no doubt. None.
I totally agree.
Let's do it.
It's one of those things. It's like, what I liked about Alien Romulus so much was played it safe is how I'm going to describe it, but I don't mean it in a literal sense. I think he just made I think he intended to make a movie that looked and felt like an Alien film, and he did that. You know, the look of the spaceship. I liked how dark the movie was, but clear. I understood everything, and how haunted that spaceship felt when they got on it. It was just so haunting, right? There was one of the old characters that was playing the chopped off android. Yeah, I can agree there. Didn't look that great, but you know what? I also found it a little charming because of just like, that's kind of old school, that look. You know, they could have CGI'd that, I'm sure. I don't know what they did, if that was CGI, maybe some kind of composite stuff. I don't know, but it had this old school look to it. But I can contest that in the scope of the movie, it's the sore thumb, no doubt about it. But for me, what I liked about it so much was how it was so suspenseful. It felt like an actual horror film, because people are always debating whether these goddamn movies are horror films or not. Well, I say everybody. That's not true. but there's always an argument about it. But this movie, before anything, this was a goddamn horror movie. And what I love is by the end of the movie, he took a weird risk, which I didn't say this in my review because I was trying to be super, super spoiler free, but you definitely got the Prometheus feel. But dude, that fucking thing, that was the best part of the movie to me. And that's another thing where people are like, hate the ending. What the fuck? Hate the ending. What the fuck? Hate it. Weird. What is that? Exactly. What is that? I am scared of what I don't know or understand. Right?
Yeah.
That's how I am. That's how human. Dude, I fucking loved it. Then I found out that was a motherfucker in a suit.
Mm-hmm.
That was a motherfucker in a suit. So I loved the ending. The ending was my favorite part of it, and it was so uncomfortable, and it was so nightmarish, like so fucking nightmarish. So I applaud the risk. For me, it worked perfectly. It's my favorite part of the movie. But yeah, it's weird, man. If people ask for fucking Coke, you better give them Coke.
Yeah.
Don't throw any cherries in there. You
No
know,
new,
don't
no
do
new,
it.
no new Coke. No new Coke. That's not what
No
they
new
want.
Coke. So
Hey, I'll say this about that. Yes, that felt very in line with Prometheus. And also, I didn't know what it was going to be, but something got spoiled for me a little bit on Twitter because, people just can't help themselves. I saw a tweet that was like, I know we're not going to be bitching. I know people are not already bitching about a hybrid in an alien movie, right? We get hybrids in almost every alien movie. And so I knew some kind of hybrid was coming. But to that poster's point, I kind of expected it because they're right. We get hybrids in like almost every alien movie. We get like some new kind of species. So I wasn't surprised that we got it. And I can tell you from the moment she injected that stuff in her neck, I was just thinking, what is this thing going to look like? And where's it going to come out of? Like, I was like, is this going to burst out of her chest? Is it going to burst out of her stomach? Is she going to give birth to it? Like, what is this thing going to be? How is it going to come to be? Like, you knew something was coming, and that fucking thing was ugly.
oh, dude.
Like, ugly. Yeah, I liked it. And I actually thought that she was going to, I almost wonder if the right decision would have been for her to have to die with it. Like when she's trying to drop that, the cargo or the, whatever that is, like if the only way for her to do that is for her to do it while she's on there with it, like, so they both die, because also it's a movie that's an interquel. It's in between Alien and Aliens. And this character is not an Aliens. So I thought she could die. And I thought that would be like the ultimate sacrifice, hey, I'm going to stop this thing from coming to be and killing more people and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of it, man, it's just, but I got some messages. I'll tell you that. I got some messages. Jaden, I know you're listening. He said he hated the hybrid. And, I don't know, man. I also thought it was weird that it killed its mom. Didn't you find that weird? Like, I didn't think it'd kill its mom. I thought if anything, it'd be protective of her. No, it killed its mom.
I mean, in that moment, I was so freaked out by that thing. I was probably thinking to myself, well, of course it's trying to kill everybody. Look at it. But if they make another movie, maybe they could explain. I don't know. But there's a lot of stuff about these movies they don't ever fully explain, I guess. But I don't know, dude. It doesn't make it. So it's funny because I posted about this like on YouTube, and somebody, I don't take it personally, but somebody was like, I was just like, man, it's interesting how the Alien fans, like, how so many people don't like this movie. It's weird. They're intense as the Halloween fans. And somebody said I was being biased. I was like, what bias would I have? I don't give a fuck if you don't like it. I'm just it's an observation. Like, why would I care? Like, why would I care how many people don't like it? I'm just pointing out something I'm seeing. But this is the first Alien movie where I feel like I'm a part of it, where I'm seeing what people say, and it's just like, dude, I just wish I feel like I'm in a Twilight Zone, because I feel like more often than not, I'll watch a movie and I'm think, oh, this is all right. It's all right. But it's like, dude, for so many people, it's either 10 out of 10 or 0 out of 10.
Yeah.
There's like no in between. And maybe, like I said, that's just the people that talk or comment on the internet a lot. because usually you want to say, if you don't like something, you want to voice your opinion even stronger. But I don't know, man. Maybe that's not a good way to gauge things, but it's just weird. It's
Well,
so
you know what?
weird.
You know, the weirdest thing, honestly, about all of this is for me, isn't it crazy that we're living in a time right now where the last Predator movie and the last Alien movie were both really good?
They
Because
were
it's been
really
a
good.
while since we had that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd say the last Predator movie that, you had Prey. Prey was good. And then I liked Predators with Adrian Brody. I did like that movie. The Predator sucked balls. That movie's terrible.
And I
And
was excited for that one.
so was I. I saw it in theaters, and I just was so let down. I was like, "This movie sucked."
Is that the one that Fred Decker wrote?
I don't know. I just know that Shane Black directed it. But,
Carry on. I'm just gonna.
yeah. And then Alien Covenant. A lot of people didn't like that movie either. So both of the series were kind of at a low point. So to bring them both back and to have them do so well, and I bet you they're kicking themselves even more now that they didn't put Prey into theaters. And rightfully so, they should be. You see how well it did on Hulu and the reviews it got and whatnot, and then you see how well Alien is doing, and it's like, we should have put that in theaters.
I totally agree. And yes, Fred Decker did write The Predator, which is a shame. The guy who made Monster Squad and Night of the Creeps wrote The Predator. You know, dude, Disney and 20th Century Fox are so stupid. I can't say names, but I found out that it was through people that do the kind of thing I do with physical media and reviews that were involved in them finally putting out Prey on 4K. On their own fruition, they weren't going to do it. There's still movies that they're like, why are you idiots not putting this stuff out? And then Prey ended up becoming a gigantic ass seller on home video. The steelbooks were gone the day that they were announced on the pre-orders. Couldn't even get them. People were selling the steelbooks for that movie for like $150.
Yeah.
So I don't understand what they're thinking over there. Were they the ones who did Barbarian? Because I know that like that's a dude. Do you know how good that would do on physical media?
Oh yeah, I do.
It's like, come on, man. What's going on?
I mean, we still
Put the
see
goddamn movie out.
You see it all the time. You see people still to this day making posts on social media about still waiting for Barbarian on physical.
Just give us just give me I want to own it. Like, give me a Blu-ray, dude. Like with just
VHS.
Just give me anything. I'm sure it's funny because like Waxworks putting out the soundtrack on vinyl. It's like, Jesus Christ, we can get a soundtrack. Can't get the goddamn movie. And then like one of the producers even said that they filmed a bunch of shit that could go on. Like they filmed cast and crew interviews and stuff. So
it's got to be coming eventually. Like it's going to happen. It's just a matter of like,
give it to Screen Factory.
It's also like, why are you waiting so long though? Like, I don't know. You know more about physical media than me. What would you think it would cost a company to do a rollout for a Blu-ray release for a movie?
I don't know that, but my initial reaction to the question as you were asking it was like, well, maybe these. I don't know where it was streaming, if it was exclusively on a thing, but they'll say, well, we're going to license the movie out to be streamed, but we're not going to do physical media because people that buy physical media aren't streaming the movie or blah, blah. It's a stupid rationale that they would have that doesn't make sense because they all think that the streaming is the future, which it is, but I don't know. I think there's going to be a huge streaming war in the next 5 to 10 years, and there's going to be like 3 companies that end up buying. Isn't there a rumor that like Paramount wants to buy or Sony wants to buy like there's dude, you read about this stuff all the time. I see like these headlines like about these companies wanting to buy each other. Like it's like eventually, which I don't think is a good thing, but I wonder how much of these streaming sites are going to get consolidated smaller and smaller.
Well, you're starting to see a bunch of them merge together too, which is, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I really don't know how I feel about like, oh, Hulu is now merging with Disney, and it's just kind of like, I don't know. It just seems weird to me. It's almost like some of these companies are admitting their failures. And they're like, well, the only way we're going to be able to sustain is if we merge. And it's like, yeah, it's crazy. It's almost like everything didn't need an app. There didn't need to be a streaming service for literally everything. I can't see Peacock being successful. I don't think Peacock is successful. I truly don't think it is for Universal. I think it probably loses them money.
I think you're probably right, but the only thing I think that's their saving grace is buying WWE, the network, because wrestling is incredibly hot right now. Like WWE, like they're selling out 16, 17,000 arenas on a weekly basis right now. It's just insane. So like them having the WWE, they inherited. I think WWE had anywhere between 8 to 10 million people in America using the app. So they bought basically those customers, but still, I don't know if it's enough to sustain.
Well,
it's,
everybody flocked to it at the beginning because they got The Office. And that's like one of the most rewatched shows ever. So
I think it finally died down a little bit. I mean, they're doing a new Office too. Did you see that?
Yeah, well, they're doing like I think Australia is doing one, and then
Australia.
America is doing a spinoff.
But it's like it's its own new thing.
Yeah, it's another Dunder Mifflin branch. So it's the same paper company, just in a different town.
Are you watching any TV shows right now?
Actively, no, I'm not. I don't think so.
Okay, so the reason I asked is because last year, I've told you this before, how me and Sydney will kind of pick something to watch. One year we did Saw, then we did The Purge one year, and then we did Paranormal Activity 2 years ago when Paramount put out that box set. Well, I was wanting to figure out what I wanted to do this year, and I'm hoping you've seen some of this show. When I say everybody I've talked to about the show has said it's the fucking best, I mean it. Like they talk about it like it's Breaking Bad, which I know you haven't seen, which is it's so criminal. Anyway, I can't talk because here I am talking about a show I probably should have seen. This October, I'm going to watch Dexter. I'm going to start it. And I can tell based on your reaction, you have not seen Dexter.
Nope.
Because as soon as I say that, it's always, what? You haven't seen Dexter?
Well, here's the thing, Christian. Just like with Breaking Bad, I feel like I missed the boat on it. By the time people told me to watch it, it was done.
Because it didn't get popular till it was done.
Yeah.
Listen, dude, I know you're probably like me. You got punk rock in your blood. If people tell you need to check this out, it's so good, you initially get turned off. I'm the same way.
Yeah. I don't like being told what I need to watch.
I totally understand that. There's only one show that has been so intense, I physically can't sit down watching it at times, where I'm literally sweating and I can't sit down. And that's Breaking Bad. I physically have to sit. My wife, when we were watching it, it's the second or third time I'm watching it. It's so intense, and I know what's coming, but it's so well written. I can't sit down. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I can't sit." She goes, "But you know what's about to happen." It is the greatest written show I've ever seen. I would love for you to finally just watch it. Because within 3 or 4 episodes, you are sucked the fuck into it.
That's another thing that I worry about. It's going to take over my life for a while.
It will, but I mean, just...
But I know I need to do it. I know I need to do it.
So, I mean, I'm trying to get to where I get over myself about TV shows because I vocally ran my mouth off about it. The reality is some of these shows are good. And, I did not like midway of season 2 of Chucky. Season 3, I'm a couple episodes into season 3, and it's okay. It's okay. But I like season 1 of Chucky. I really like Supernatural. I love that show. And what else have I watched? Oh, Walking Dead. I stopped talking about it online, Nick, because every single time I started to talk about it, people would put me in such a bad mood. Yeah. I would be like, guys, just finished season 2. Oh man, so blah blah blah. I'm so sad that we lost John Bernthal. I love John Bernthal. Blah 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 blah. The wife's kind of pissing me off, but I see where she's coming. Blah. And every time, the comments were like, "You finna fall off a cliff. The show sucks, man. It gets bad. It gets shitty." And I'm not saying that they're wrong, but I'm excited. Let me be fucking excited. I'm enjoying the show, right? Like I'm enjoying it. I'm watching season 3 like last year sometime, and I was like, season 3 was way better than I love season 3. I love the prison that but you enjoy it now, brother, because it's the last good season. I'm not talking about this anymore. I can't.
It's the reason I haven't finished. It's the reason I never finished it. I fell off after I think season 7. And then
is season 7? Whoa, I'm almost there. I think I'm in 5 or 6. I know I haven't gotten to 7. Season 7, the season where you've got that fucking zombie that has the metal things on, and he's got all the rods, and his name was he has a name, but
that doesn't ring a bell. So I actually don't. The last, when I was done watching the show, when I fell off with the show, and it wasn't because I wasn't liking the show, guys. It was simply because I think at that point in my life, it was not long after I'd moved out and got a place with my buddies, and we were in a band, and we were, partying every night and shit. I wasn't doing the whole like, oh, I got to make sure I watch The Walking Dead every Sunday. So I kind of fell off of it. But it was after I don't want to spoil anything because Christian hasn't gotten there, but it was before a turn happens with the villain, one of the major villains, I guess I'll say. And I've thought about, like, oh, I need to go back. I need to finish the show. There's like 4 seasons I haven't watched. And it's the same thing, dude. Anytime I talk about it, people are like, you're going to hate it. It falls off a cliff. It starts to suck. Like, don't waste your time. And it's like, dude, can't anybody be fucking happy? Like,
no. The answer is no.
I know.
But this is what I was referencing. So when Anchor Bay was still Anchor Bay, now there's a new Anchor Bay, but it's not the same. It's 2 guys that bought it, which it may be cool. I'm hoping to see they put out some cool stuff. But anyway, my point is, and you probably remember seeing these at Best Buy. I'm trying to get some of them because they're so cool. When they would put out early seasons, they would make these busts. One would be a zombie with a screwdriver in his eyes, and it'd be the Blu-ray case. Then the one with the fish tank, the aquarium. Well, I've been getting some, and I got season 4 with the tree zombie for $25 on eBay. Well, see, the reason I ask you about season 7 is because this one is so rare. They didn't make as many of them because the show, I think by season 7, the popularity was still, it was good, but it wasn't booming. So they didn't make as many of these. And this is the bust for season 7. And it's this zombie that's like a junkyard zombie. And that's why I was asking if you got to that point, because not only do I want that, but I'm not going to pay much for it if I get it. But I was like, I want to see this motherfucker in the show. So,
well, I'm trying to remember like what happens in each season. So I guess I should ask.
I'm sure it's a blur.
Have you seen? You've gotten to the point like Terminus, right?
I'm right there.
So have they gotten to Terminus yet?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They got there.
Okay. So
tread lightly.
One of my favorite moments in the show is, I believe, before that. Have you seen the neck bite, the infamous neck bite? By Rick. Okay, that is one of my favorite moments in the entire show, is when he bit that dude's neck. Like, bit into that dude's neck, and I was like, oh my. I remember watching that. I was like, holy shit. And I'm just going to tell you right now, the whole, like, everything with Terminus and the fallout from Terminus is some of the best stuff in the show. It just is. I love that season. I love that season. I feel like that's peak Walking Dead. Like, those 2 seasons, peak Walking Dead. And then leading up to Negan, and when you're first introduced to Negan, just the show could do no wrong at that point.
Do you remember the promotion for that at the time? Like, AMC, you couldn't escape the trailer of him with the bat. Like, you couldn't escape it.
And my entire family, we were watching it as a family every Sunday night for years. And let me tell you, we were on pins and needles waiting for that season premiere, because we're like, we have to know what happened. Like, it engulfed all of us. Like, it was insane. Yeah. But the problem with The Walking Dead was, and everybody says this, fans of the show, and I haven't watched all the seasons, so I'm sure I'll agree with it, is they dragged the Negan stuff out way too long.
That's what everybody says.
It's season after season with no resolution. And it's like, up to that point in the show, we'd never had that. You'd start a season, and maybe the season ends on a cliffhanger. So but the next season will have that resolution.
Right.
But like once Negan came into the picture, it was like, wait for next season. Wait for next season. And it's like, okay, well, you're not. It's just like, I don't know. It's like so I'm gonna get around to finishing it, but I'm glad that you're at the best part of the show right now because you're clearly riding a high because these are all what you're watching right now. It's some of the best Walking Dead. Period.
Yeah.
It just
But
is.
Dude, that's why I stopped talking about it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Now I'm
because
gonna have to
everybody's
not look at the comments of this. I'm scared to
yeah,
look at the comments on this video, dude.
they're so negative.
And
But
you know, it's people say the same thing about Dexter. Like it's my fault. I did post a picture just saying, "Hey guys, I got the box set. I'm getting ready to watch this. I'm gonna start this in October. Let me know if you're a fan." And I'm thinking to myself, well, people are just gonna say, "Yeah, I love the show." That's not what they say. Season 1's good. Season 2's good. After season 4, it's a huge drop off. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, oh fuck! Like I gotta shut my mouth about. This is why I don't review TV shows. This is why I don't talk about them. Because to me, that's a spoiler in a weird way, right?
yeah.
Because you're putting something in my head that I don't want to have put in there, which is why Long Legs, I didn't watch a trailer. I knew nothing about it. And it was the greatest movie experience I've had in a long time because I didn't know shit all. I didn't know Michael Monroe was in it. That's how little I knew Nick Cage was in it. I was going to the theater to see it. Didn't look up anything, which ironically, the movie that I was openly like, fuck trailers, I'm done. I'm not watching trailers anymore. I hate trailers. That movie marketed itself pretty brilliantly. Like they didn't show anything. So,
well, since the last time we spoke on here, I've watched a movie that a lot of people for years have lauded and people have told me to watch, and I finally watched it. Train to Busan. And I got to tell you, man, I'm not a big zombie fan. It's never been a subgenre that's grabbed me. You really got to be good. I thought Train to Busan was awesome.
it's really good.
I really, really did. And it was really sad too. And then I read that Peninsula is a sequel in the same universe, but that's it. There's really no connective tissue. And I was like, well, I kind of don't even want to see that then.
It's not great.
Yeah, I heard that too. And then I also heard that they made a prequel after Peninsula, and I don't know how that one was received.
I didn't pay attention to it at that point. Busan's good. You know, the thing about I love Asian CGI because it's got this weird quality to it. So in the movie, in those moments where all the people that are zombies, they start piling up on top of each other as they're trying to move down the train. It has this weird glowy look to it that I just know Asian CGI when I see it.
Yeah.
But it's charming to me. I get the same charm from that as I do practical effects in old movies, but just a great movie. So emotional. You don't expect that kind of emotion from a zombie film. Yeah, great movie. I think it'll be a classic if it's not already considered one. But in terms of zombie films in the last, go ahead.
They're remaking it right now in America, right?
It won't be as good.
Under the title Last Train to New York, I think.
It won't be as good.
Oh, yeah, no.
There was a panic in Train to Busan that was done so well. Like the way people were panicking and the way people were, moving, and Asian people are all in just such better shape than Americans. So you believed everybody's hauling ass and running. And like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the last great American zombie film. Great American zombie film. I don't know.
That's a high bar. Great. I can tell you that the most recent American
Probably
zombie
just
film,
The Walking Dead, right? I mean, in terms of quality of, which is not a movie.
But the last movie I think that I actually really enjoyed, it's not great, but I had a really good time with. I really liked World War Z. I did really like World War Z. I thought that movie was really fun because
yeah, it's a good movie.
Very different kind of zombie movie. And in some ways similar to Train to Busan. These zombies that pile up on top of each other and they run and they're like, that kind of stuff is freakier to me. A zombie apocalypse like that, I don't know. I don't like my chances. But a zombie apocalypse like Night of the Living Dead, I love my chances. Absolutely love my chances. So it's like, if they're slow and they're stupid, I'm not really concerned. If they can run and they're smart, I'm kind of concerned. So, yeah. But But also, Christian, I don't think they do it a lot anymore in America. I think zombies have kind of tailed off. I mean, maybe you'd say Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, like, is probably the last one that most people said was great.
Yeah, because I didn't like Army of the Dead. I was very severely disappointed with that.
Yeah, me neither.
I didn't like that. Dawn of the Dead is great. I'm trying to think, man. Because like when Walking Dead came out, I know I have DVDs of movies that came out 2011, 12, 13 of zombie films, but I can't look, I'm a huge fan of them, man. Like I really am, because when they're bad, they're bad, but when they're good, they're really good. And that's the issue. And there is a lot of in between, but the in between ones, they come and they go faster than a fucking, they come and they go like that. And then they're gone. But I'm ready I want another great zombie film to happen in America. And you know what? Maybe I'll eat my words on this. I highly doubt it's going to be better than Train to Busan, but we'll see. I'm always happy when they're making films in that genre.
I'm
Because
actually going to look up right now who's directing it, because and like who's a part of it, because that'll tell me. Oh, Timo, to not Vornsola.
what other
Timo
one?
Giganto.
What would I know him from?
He directed. I know he directed part of VHS 2. He directed ABCs of Death. He directed the Safe Haven segment VHS 2, which is the cult one.
Oh, no shit. Okay,
yeah.
I'm in.
He directed the segment in VHS 94 called The Subject.
My least favorite in that one, but that's not because it's bad. It's just the charm. Never mind. I don't know if you've seen that, so I don't want to go into it.
I haven't, but I will say he's foreign, so I feel like that's part of the reason that they hired him for this. I believe he's of Asian descent. It looks like he is. Yeah, he's definitely of Asian descent, and they cast.
I'm in.
Yeah, they cast a guy in the lead role. His name is Gang Dong-won.
I'm in.
And he's South Korean. So yeah,
I think South Korean. Oh, dude, I'm in.
I think they're actually really trying to make it very similar. Like they're not Americanizing it. It doesn't seem like, where it's like Brad Pitt is the lead, like Matt Damon.
Okay, I'm in. I changed my mind.
Yeah. So well, I mean, you were going to see it anyway, because it's going to be a big budget zombie movie going to theaters. So yeah, you'd be there.
Dude, I'm excited. I love them, man. I really do. I go out of my way to try to watch as many little ones as I can. I can tell the audience one of the worst ones you'll ever see in your entire life. It's called My Uncle John is a Zombie. Now, the relevance to seeing this is because John Russo made it, who obviously wrote Night of the Living Dead, and he wanted to make this movie, and he made it. And John Russo is still alive and well, still kicking in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's 84, 83, 84. But yeah, he made a movie called My Uncle John is a Zombie.
Isn't that where Romero was from? Or where he called home?
Yeah. I mean, him, Savini, all those guys. That's where they filmed a lot of Night of the Living Dead. Now, I think Romero... No, wait a minute. I think Romero might have been from Canada. I know he's buried in Vancouver.
But I wonder, did he live in Pittsburgh? That's my thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he lived there.
Okay.
But I think he's buried, oddly enough, in like Vancouver. I could be.
Yeah, he was born in the Bronx, but he died in Toronto.
I wonder why. Because the channel Grim Life Collective, they visited his gravesite, and I was watching that. It just kind of popped up on my video stuff, and I was like, oh, let me watch that.
He moved to. Yeah, he got dual citizenship to Toronto because he met his wife Suzanne. I don't want to butcher her last name.
We'll call her Suzanne Romero.
Yeah, and but then so he got dual citizenship, but he didn't get dual citizenship until 2009. So the last few years of his life.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
I thought it was the coolest thing ever when Call of Duty Zombies had the Call of the Dead map, and George A. Romero was in the center of the map. And
Oh, really? No, I
did
never
you,
played that.
he's a huge zombie that's just in the center of the map, and he doesn't mess with you unless you shoot him. And if you shoot him, I'm trying to remember correctly. If you shoot him, he starts to chase you.
I'll have to YouTube that.
And I used to think me and my buddies would play that map, and we'd go, just don't touch Romero. Like, just let Romero do what he's doing, because if we shoot him, we're all gonna die. And because we believed that you couldn't kill him. No, you can't. Right. So once we found that out, it was like, all right, let's upgrade these weapons, blah blah blah. And then one of us would shoot him, and then we'd all just unload on him and kill him. And you get an achievement for it. But yeah, he's just this big ass zombie. It's George A. Romero in the middle of the freaking map.
I'll be damned.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go YouTube that.
And then Avenged Sevenfold made a song for that map, and it's called "Not Ready to Die," and I love that song.
Oh, I know that song. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was for a game.
It was for that, for that zombies map. So yeah, they did a lot of work with Call of Duty. They did multiple songs for Call of Duty. They did that. They did Carry On for Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 3. They lent Shepherd of Fire to Black Ops, whichever zombies.
Which one of those guys are the game? Are they all gamers? Because clearly they have to be into that sort of thing.
I would think they are. Yeah, I would think they are. Jimmy was the drummer before he passed in 2010 or 2011. The Rev. I know he was a gamer. But you know how these guys in these bands are. I mean, you're a musician. I've been in bands throughout my life. Like, we're all kind of nerds. Like,
wait a minute. Yeah, I think one of them in an interview years ago, and I didn't get the relevance of this till I got into gaming, but I'm pretty sure one of them said that they wanted City of Evil, which is still my favorite record. They wanted that to sound like the soundtrack to, like, Castlevania. Yeah. And then years later, I got into retro video games at a deeper level because I had never played Castlevania as a kid, and I totally hear it now. It's all the fast, high melody things going on in the video game. So yeah, I always thought City of Evil to me sounded like a fucking casino going off. It's like a bunch of fast beep sounds everywhere, especially on what's the song? She's a dwelling place. Like do. It just sounds like casino slots going off. That's what I always thought it sounded like.
It is still not their most chaotic album. Their most chaotic album is Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, which was the album before that. That album is chaotic. Like, it's
that was their debut, right? Because the one before that was Chapter 4. Was the
no. Yeah, that was their debut, and then it was Waking the Fallen, and then it was City of Evil.
Dude, Waking the Fallen was such, man. Like, it's like when me and my brother were growing up, I basically got into the music he was listening to. It wasn't until we kind of really separated in life, meaning he went off to college and I stayed here and started working, that I started listening and finding my Alice Cooper and stuff like that. But I always listened to what my brother listened to because I rode to school with him. Right when Katrina hit, maybe like a few months, but like a month or so before that, he had bought Waking the Fallen on CD. And I remember we listened to it. We listened to it when we were fucking leaving New Orleans for the last time. Like, we were evacuating, not realizing I was never going to go home again. And I remember we would listen to that record, dude. And then, oh man, it carried us through so much shit, that band.
That album,
I hated
that
the
album
fans.
was and they're still.
In 2009, you could spot an Avenged Sevenfold mark from a mile away.
Yep.
You could spot an Avenged Sevenfold fan from a mile away.
See, the crazy thing is, too, is like, well, Waking the Fallen was the debut of the Death Bat. And that was the cover of the album.
The Death Bat. That's right. Yeah. It was like almost like their Black Album in a sense.
Yep. And then, but I would say their rise to prominence began with the self-titled in 2007, and that had a bunch of great songs on it. And then Nightmare was really when they went mainstream for a lot of people. And that was when you actually saw a lot of their hardcore fans fall off because they felt like they sold out. I remember that era fondly of people like, this isn't Avenged Sevenfold. They're making this stuff for the radio, which I disagree. I actually think Nightmare is a solid album. Like the lead track and Welcome to the Family. Yeah, those were radio songs. I don't really care for those, but I think it's a solid album. It gets very experimental in the back half with like Victim and Save Me and Tonight the World Dies. Like there's a lot of really good tracks on that.
I love that. I pretty much love everything experimental they do. That's some of
Oh,
my favorite stuff. Like their
did you like
country
the
song, "Dear
stage?
God," is like
Oh,
fucking amazing. It's
dude,
gorgeous.
yes. Yeah, the
Yeah,
stage that came out
this
in 2017, I really liked that album.
was that the one that you'll have to remind me. Is that the one that has a song that goes da na na dun 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 dun?
Yeah, that's the stage. No, wait. Dun, dun. No, that's Hail to the King.
Hail to the
Yeah.
King. What album was that?
That was right before the stage, and it was funny because they took a couple
I
years
didn't.
off after Hail to the King because Hail to the King was really trashed by their fans.
Yeah,
That was
I like that song, but as that record, I remember listening when they put out a new record, I would listen to it, and I remember not liking that. Nightmare, I thought was fantastic.
yeah, no,
You know,
I really like Nightmare. I do too, but that was when that was the album that they were making when the Rev died. They were
right,
making that
right.
album actively when he died, so like they had to bring in uh Portnoy, the drummer from Dream Theater.
Dream Theater, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of him. He's a good drummer, but
he's a
I was
douchebag.
never.
Oh, he's a douchebag, and it was funny because it was the whole fallout after that was great. He thought he was their drummer now, and they were like, "No, you helped us finish the album. You're not our drummer."
Yeah,
And
he left Dream Theater out of something
yeah,
stupid, and I
yeah,
remember reading about that, and I think he has a very very high opinion of himself.
yeah. But they've had a revolving door of drummers since then. You know,
Dude,
after Portnoy, they brought in Aaron Aleje. He didn't work. Then they brought in Brooks Wakerman, and Brooks Wakerman, I believe, is still their drummer. But they've also had touring drummers. But I get it. The Rev was like he was Avenged Sevenfold. Like it was him and Matt that
I didn't
started
realize
the
how.
band.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much he was a musician as well. I mean, he really. Not to say that being a drummer is not a musician, people, but my point is like he can write. He understood music, and very impressed by him. Yeah, he was a really good drummer, man, and his voice was amazing. And it's so funny because I'm catching back up on all my post-hardcore days lately. Apparently Atreyu fired their guy that was their screamer for the band that actually didn't play an instrument. Now it's just the drummer doing all the vocals. So, and then it wasn't under good circumstances because I found an interview of the singer, and it's they never talk about anything specific, but it was just like, yeah, they didn't want me anymore, and I don't want them kind of shit. I'm just like, oh fuck. So I went on to Atreyu on Spotify, and I was like, well, let me see what they're doing. They put out a record last year, and I don't miss the screamer. I'll tell you that because I mean they write some really melodic shit, but it's so funny how all this stuff is changing because I
No,
got out of it and I'm trying to. I still like some of that stuff, man. It was a part of my life for a long time. All those bands, Seosin, Atreyu. I would listen to the more harder stuff. Then I got into Bleeding Through. All those Orange County bands too. Bleeding Through, Throwdown, Avenged Sevenfold. The Orange County stuff is amazing. It was, but it's crazy how big Avenged Sevenfold got,
it's because of
because
it's because of Matt, the M Shadows. His vocals. He's a really good singer.
he's really good, but it's so funny. There was a documentary I watch. I implore everybody to check this out if you're into the Orange County, Florida bands, not California. That's where they're from, right? They're from Florida.
Yep.
Just making sure because there's 2 Orange counties. So there's a documentary from a band called Bleeding Through. It's called Wolves Among Sheep. And I believe that's the name of it. Or it may be backwards. Sheep. I think it's Wolves Among Sheep is actually what it's called. And it's about the band Bleeding Through. They're from the Orange County scene. Brandon Chipetti, friends with M Shadows, friends with all those guys. All those Orange County bands, they came up together. Watching that documentary, everybody thought 18 Visions was going to be the breakout Orange County band. And I love 18 Visions. They're so fucking good. But it wasn't them. Because 18 Visions had the look. They were goth, hardcore, but they had a great singer. They had a little bit of that emo touch. And everybody, including Brandon, they were like, we all thought 18 Visions were going to be the band, but when Avenged Sevenfold broke out, it just blew all this away. But yeah, I'm just reminiscing. I don't really have something you could add to that per se, but it was a good time. That was such a good time in my life. 2007, 8, 9, man. I was still listening to all those bands, and I kind of miss it sometimes. I'll find myself. It's weird. I don't know about you, dude. Like I have this weird thing about when I listen to music that was integral to my youth. I feel like I'm living in the past, and I try not to do that. As weird as it sounds,
Yeah.
because I try to look forward. Does that make sense?
I don't. I can't tell you the last time I willingly listened to Metallica. I cannot tell you, and that was my childhood, my favorite band growing up. But it's the same thing. It's like I feel like I don't know. Yeah, you feel like you're living in the past a little bit. It's actually been kind of weird for me because Avenged Sevenfold is one of those bands that I never stopped listening to. Like because I felt like I was a teenager when they were really blowing up, and so I felt like I grew up with them in a way. So it was like I
Right,
felt like I could
right.
still listen to them, and still feel like I can. But I got to tell you, man, their last album, I did not care for it. It was the first Avenged Sevenfold album, and believe it or not, I had that reaction to Hail to the King when it came out because I was like, "This is just straight up radio rock. I don't know how I feel about this." And then as I got past the title track and some of the singles, I was like, "Oh, well, there's some good stuff on here. I guess it's an okay album."
Right.
And then the stage was like, "Oh, like yeah, I love the song Sunny Disposition on the stage and Paradigm, Goddamn, like there's great songs on that album." So I was like, "Oh, okay, Avenged Sevenfold's back." And then their most recent album, I listened to it one time, and I was like, "This is not Avenged Sevenfold. I don't know what this is, but it's not." I just didn't care. I really didn't. So, but yeah, no, Metallica is one of those bands. Is like by the time I discovered them, even as a kid, they had already peaked. So I didn't really feel like I was growing up with them. I felt like it was always about going back and listening to stuff that they had done before I was alive or before I was listening to them. And there was a nice moment in there a little bit, like Death Magnetic. They kind of rose to prominence again after years of nobody really giving a shit because of Saint Anger. And it was kind of cool because it was like, oh, like cool. It's cool to like Metallica again. And then they disappeared for like a decade again. And then Hardwired came out. And I was like, oh, and they're having another moment. They went number one. I'm like, okay, they're having another moment. And then their last album, no thanks. I just 72 seasons. I just can't do it, man. I don't know.
I don't feel like there was any songs from that record that have like became hits. Like
No.
if they need to take 7 years to write a record, then do it, please. Because I don't know. Like I really liked Moth and the Flame. To me is about as classic of a Metallica song. Like it just when you hear it one time, it clicks. Like fuck.
Hardwired was a very thrash album, and I like that a lot because Metallica's at their best when they're thrash, and their thrash albums are Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Justice, and Justice for All is absolutely a thrash album, probably their most thrash, I would argue. Well, maybe Kill 'Em All, but then they started to go more into like just heavy metal, which is fine, but like the draw for Metallica has never been the solos because Kirk Hammett is notoriously not this guy that's just going to write these incredibly memorable solos. That's why thrash was always their thing because James had the voice for thrash. They were very punchy, very chuggy. Like that's kind of their sound. That's when they're at their best. And that's why I didn't
But they're
care.
getting old. They can't. They're gonna have to write slower stuff soon.
Yeah, and I understand that. And that's fine, but that's why I was surprised with Hardwired. Because I was like, this is a thrash album.
Oh
These
yeah,
guys are like 60 and this is a thrash album. This is awesome. So, I don't know. I mean, but thrash metal, yeah, it's dead. We all know it's dead. It's not around anymore. But Metallica is one of those bands that, there are certain artists in the world, them, I know them. They drop an album, they're going number one. They have that built-in fan base. Metallica is one of those bands. So if I just don't want 72 Seasons to be the album they go out on. Give me one more album. Just one more album. And then if you guys just want to tour until you guys can't anymore, that's great. I don't know. I'm sure you saw that Aerosmith had to cancel their farewell tour because of Steven Tyler. Did you see that?
I saw that, and I give them every bit of credit in the world because they're not doing a lip sync thing. Kiss did that in their last tour. It just devastated me. Paul Stanley had one of the greatest voices in the 80s, and to see him go, and he was so vocal for years about lip syncing. He was so against it publicly. Paul Stanley used to always go out and he would say, "There's no tracks out here. There's no singers in the back hiding. What you're hearing is a rock and roll band." The crowd would go nuts. So open against it. Then did a whole farewell tour. Same set every night, fake vocals. And there's tons of videos where shit went wrong. and then Paul had to sing, and he sounded like shit.
Yeah.
That was, dude, that hair metal stuff. I mean, I say hair metal because Kiss is obviously classic rock. They're 70s, but dude, I mean, they had a decade of the 80s where Paul was the best hair metal vocalist of all time. And they can't do Lick It Up. They couldn't do Heaven's on Fire anymore because the stuff was so high. So I get that, but I don't know. He was to be so vocal about it. I hate bands that you go see and it's fake. I can't stand it. I've talked about this to you before. There's a video of this broad singing. She's like a pop singer. She loses her microphone on stage. The track's just going with her singing, and the crowd is like kind of like watching her, and she finds her microphone while the song's still playing with the vocals. I don't know who the girl is, otherwise I would say the name. And she holds the microphone up, and the people in the crowd start cheering. I'm like, what kind of Twilight Zone is this where people are paying literally to just see people show up and where, like, what?
Yeah.
What happened, man?
And
so
then
I give Aerosmith all the credit in the world for going out like real legends.
Yeah, because guess what? If they didn't, and I'm going to say this and I'm not going to hold back, I'm sorry, but Vince Neil and Axl Rose, stop. You sound like shit. You look like shit. Stop. No one. It's unrecognizable, Christian. Unrecognizable.
Axl's voice was so aggressive in the way he sang. I feel like he was all throat back in the day, which maybe I'm wrong, but it sounds like he was just like, he sounds bad. He sounds like a bird. And Vince was never a great vocalist. I don't think anybody would ever say, when you think of great vocalists from the 80s, name one. Vince Neil just had an okay voice. He sang in key, and they managed to write catchy songs. I openly say this. I say it all the time. John 5 is the biggest moron on the planet. The biggest moron on the planet for leaving Rob Zombie to go play with Motley Crue. To give himself his childhood dream or whatever, because he loved Motley Crue as a kid. Dude, you had the best gig in the world playing hit songs with Rob Zombie, with the best stage show besides Alice, and you leave to go play with Motley Crue and be a laughingstock? They put out a song called Dogs of War. It's pathetic how shitty and digital it sounds. It's horrible. So, yeah, John 5, you're one of the best guitar players of the modern day, but that's the biggest, and you're done, buddy. I got news for you. Rob ain't letting Riggs go again. Riggs is here to stay. And for a lot of people, they're happy because he obviously was on Hellbilly Deluxe and Sinister Urge. And I think he's got his original bassist back. And I don't know if he has Ginger Fish on drums or not, but he's got close to his original solo career drummer. And I think people are totally fine with that. I'd love to see Rob, to see Riggs again. Hopefully they're playing a lot of Sinister Urge songs, because I still think that's his best record. I love Sinister Urge. But yeah, John 5 is a moron. He's part of a laughingstock. Nobody is saying that Motley Crue sounds good. Nobody today is saying that. People are going to hear hit songs, but
my mom's favorite band in the 80s was Motley Crue. And last year, I'm not even kidding you. She was like, when I'm going to be in town next, I saw that Motley Crue was going to be at Riverbend, which is in Cincinnati. And she was like, and I was thinking about getting us tickets. And then I saw videos on Facebook of Vince Neil, and I can't do it.
No.
I can't do it. And I'm like, yeah, I was going to tell you, no, Mom. Like, had you been like, hey, I got tickets, I was going to be like, I'm not going. Like that. I will not do that. Like it just sounds like shit. And also, like, people get older and stuff like that, and they don't look the same. But Vince Neil clearly,
it looks like he doesn't care.
He doesn't care. Yes. Look at Mick Jagger. I get that not everybody can be Mick Jagger. I totally get it. But like, if you're still going to actively tour, you've got to at least pretend to care. And Vince Neil looks like he gets done with a show and he goes and chugs a bottle of vodka, eats 8 Big Macs, sleeps until fucking 3 the next day. Like, he doesn't care. And I'm sorry, but like, if you don't care, the people that used to watch you shouldn't care anymore.
Yeah.
And people should just stop going.
Dude, this is the reason the band kicked him out in the 90s. And they did a great record. They did a self-titled record in 94, which is phenomenal. They had a singer. The singer's name slips me, but it's fantastic. It's a fantastic record. And then nobody bought it, of course. So then a few years later, they bring back Vince Neil. And they did Generation Swine. Oddly enough, it's got a bunch of pigs on the cover, and it's terrible. Generation Swine is just horrible. But anyway, yeah, it's a joke. It's a joke. And look, I get it. It's tough when you get older, but Motley Crue stuff vocally is not difficult. It's just not. I'm sorry. It's not very difficult. And when you have people like Alice Cooper, you have guys like Mick Jagger, Sammy Hagar doing it at a high level still, that there's your bar set right there. And Vince is 10, 15 years, those guys is junior. I think Vince is early 60s.
Yeah, he's nowhere near
So
as old as they are.
Alice is 76. Mick
Dude,
is 80.
look at James Hetfield. James Hetfield's an absolute unit. He's jacked, and
About
also
the same age as Vince too. Maybe even a few years older. I don't know.
And Hetfield 20 years ago blew his voice out. Famously, ruined his voice to the point where he was like going to vocal therapy and stuff like that, trying to get it back. And the band was worried. This was right before Saint Anger and then during Saint Anger, that James was never going to be able to get his voice back.
Right.
And so he worked his ass off to get his voice back. He stayed in shape. What excuse does Vince have? None. He just doesn't care. So it's just, it's honestly sad. Yeah, it's sad. I see videos every now and then of because I see it's funny. It's funny to people. They'll post videos of a Motley Crue live show, and I'm like, I can't believe people are going to this. I'd be.
I know it, dude. I saw them in 2014, and it was terrible. And that was their farewell tour.
Yeah,
and I went for Alice. I went for Alice because he co-headlined it. But yeah,
isn't Vince Neil famously an asshole too? That just a bunch of people don't like him in the industry.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know, so I won't attribute that to him, but maybe. He's just a joke. I can tell you that.
I know that Lars Ulrich is an asshole in the industry to a lot of people. A lot of people don't like Lars.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. My favorite part of Some Kind of Monster is watching Lars tell James Hetfield he's a fucking asshole, because I agree totally with Lars 100%. James is clearly a control freak. It's so funny that they released that, because Jason Newsted was totally right in leaving, telling them to fuck off. He looked like $1 million in that documentary. James looked like a piece of shit. He looked like a control freak idiot. Now, Lars is also a little idiot, that thing too, where he's purposely playing drums like shit when they're working on a new song and they start arguing. But when Lars is just like, I'm sick of you trying to control everything, you think you're God, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, dude, he ain't wrong. Now, I think James was in the throes of alcohol at the time, so I'll give him a pass. And he's older now, so I think he totally understands it. But I don't know. It's Lars got the Napster rap, but he's totally right. I mean, the music industry was gone. There'll never be bands that successful again. There's some that are kind of close, but you have to stick out and become so unique, like Ghost, to be able to really break. You have to have the songs. There's no doubt Ghost has written hits. Ghost has diehard. I love Ghost. Diehard fans. They're selling out arenas everywhere they go. But I mean, they had to really stick out. It was a slow burn for them, but I mean, what bands today are going to be or have records that are songs that are considered classics right now? It's weird, dude. We have bands like Greta Van Fleet. So I hate them. I really hate them. I can't believe people like them. They're clearly trying to be like Led Zeppelin. The singer, all he does is scream. Ah! It sounds like shit to me. And I'm like, people are listening to this? Just go listen to Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Well, that's the thing. You don't really see mainstream bands anymore. And if you do, they usually sell out. Like, Imagine Dragons hit it big with their debut record, and people were like, oh, maybe this could be like a new rock band. And then they just went pop. And it's just like, you just don't really see it anymore. But to be frank about it, I know you and I both agree too, especially coming from that era, especially the 80s. Any successful band, like any successful front man, you have to have kind of an ego. Like you have to. Now, that doesn't mean you need to be an egomaniac, but you have to have some kind of an ego. And that is famously why I never liked that James got all the shit when it came to the Metallica and Dave Mustaine fallout, because Dave's
insane, dude.
He's an egomaniac too. They both are. And so it's like, I mean, like, but of course, James got the shit for it, and Metallica got the shit for it. When in reality, it's like, well, Dave, can't you admit that at the time you were doing a shitload of drugs and getting drunk every night and not showing up for sound checks, not showing up for rehearsals? They had every right to fire you, every single right. Like,
The proof's in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. Megadeth has not had a consistent lineup since 1992.
yeah, take that for what you will.
And
I mean,
the lineup that Megadeth had in 1992 with Ellefson, Dave, the guitar player with the curly hair, one of the greatest fucking guitar players ever, and the drummer. The names are slipping me because I always that lineup. Somebody in the chat, please comment below that I'm right. Megadeth's lineup from 90, 92, 93 is literally the greatest thrash lineup of all time. I'll remember the guitar player's name after this, but after that, people start leaving. The proof is in the pudding.
yeah.
Nobody can stay in a band with Dave Mustaine. Nobody.
And the only reason that Metallica didn't stay together, they've just had a revolving door at bassist because of Cliff Burton's death. Had Cliff Burton not died, he probably would have stayed in the band for as long as they have. I mean, they like.
What's
Cliff,
crazy is like, imagine if Cliff had been around, because when they talk about him, they talk about Cliff of about basically how much of a better musician he was than all of those guys.
dude.
And you don't really hear James talk about other people like that.
No.
So Cliff must have been so talented that he would have been like, let's ask the boss man, what does he think? Like, I get the sense that that's who Cliff was to those guys. Like, let's ask the boss man what he thinks about this.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you haven't heard it, I want you to go back after you turn off this episode and listen to Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth. It's on Kill 'Em All, Metallica's debut record. It is essentially just entirely a bass solo by Cliff Burton. It's incredible.
You can probably find it bass isolation tracks too for all that stuff.
But that's what, yeah. I mean, you can, but there's no vocals on it. It's only like it's very short, but it was solely to showcase Cliff Burton's technique with a bass.
Oh,
like,
dude,
and it is so
incredible.
good. Yeah. And I mean, so yeah. All right. Well, we've gone over 2 hours and you guys got a little bit of everything. We talked about movies flopping. We talked about streaming. We talked about Alien. We talked about music. We talked about a lot of stuff. And I feel like we covered our bases here.
Yeah. It's good to get back in a saddle.
Yeah. I was going to say it's been like a month and a half. So I was like, oh shit.
Technically we haven't missed an episode, but like we
did August's episode at the end of August when so it's like normally we do it at the beginning of the month, and so it was like we did beginning of July and then end of August. So I mean, thanks for listening, guys, and for watching. Make sure to leave a like on here, comment down below with any of these topics we talked about. We obviously love to hear your guys' feedback on this. Christian, you got anything else to add? Or
no, hopefully, you guys won't have to wait long for next month. We'll figure that out, and we'll try to get that live in. Because I don't think we did it this month, so we'll try to squeeze that in as well. Just stay tuned, and we'll be back. We're not going anywhere. We'll be back.
Yeah. So all right, guys. Well, I'll be on my last vacation of the year next week. It's
Jesus Christ, dude.
It's our Tennessee vacation as a family, but I leave on Saturday, but we're only gone for 4 days. So
I need to go on vacation.
Yeah, you do. You do. Everybody should. I mean, I get 3 weeks of PTO now at my job since I've been there for more than 5 years. So I'm making sure to use it. Like I'm going to, because it doesn't roll over. It doesn't roll over, and he doesn't pay it out anymore. Our owner doesn't. So it's like, if you don't use it, you lose it. So it's like, I'm using it. So, hopefully we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. And, cause like Christian said, we got to do a September episode, and then we got to do, hopefully try to get a live in as well. So, again, thanks guys. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate you watching. Take her easy, and we'll catch you on the flippity flip.